Okay, so JH, we had a agent down in Sydney who had come on board, and I had helped with their onboarding for Check My House price. She was new to the industry, like a freshie, to the point where she's like, I don't know what I should do, but I've heard you guys are good, so I figured I'll get in contact with you because your pricing is within my bracket. Down in it was
DY, wasn't
it? Yeah, I think it was. It was around that area, and she came on board, and I said to her, look, while the campaign's going through the motion, I did what you had always told me. While the campaign's going through the motion, going through all of the algorithm, figuring out where it is, like who they need to be getting in front of, I said to her, go through and have a look at the back end. While you wait for the new stuff to come through, go and have a look through the back end, the back catalogue that you have access, that you have access to. And so she did. And within the it would have been the first 2 months, she actually got in contact with me, and she goes, Sian, you would not believe it. She goes, I'm so excited. I am beyond excited, she said, because it was one of my first sales that I'd done, and this is just super exciting. So I had to reach out and let you know because it was one of your leads. And I'm like, tell me what's happening. And she said that she goes, I sold a house and it was one of your leads. And I was like, sweet. So she sent through the testimonial because that's what you told me to say, to get them to do.
Yep.
And a couple of months go past again. And, by that stage, she'd got another postcode on board. And I think she'd spent $4,000 with us. And I'm pretty sure that when she sent through that, she didn't even call me. She just sent it through on an email. And I was like, oh my God. And I remember your face because I kept on doing it to you. And you were like, and you've said it to me again, please don't do that because it always means bad news.
You'll be sitting there looking at your phone. You'll be like, oh my God. Or you'll be like, oh shit. And I'll be like, what? Like you married someone who's a PTSD survivor. You can't do shit like that with me.
And I can still remember your face. I turned around and I went, she did it again. And again, not a lot of
detail, no context,
no detail at all. But she had said over I've spent $4,000 with you guys, and I have just about hit my 10. No, not 10. Sorry, I nearly hit my 95,000 in commission.
Yep. Yeah, I think from memory she was at 92 at that point.
Yeah. And so she was just like, I can't. She said, I've got people in the office going, where are you getting these from? And she said, because my network isn't that big. And I'm like, and she goes, and there was there was a bit of time there where, and I know that you remember this well, the algorithm had done some funky stuff to us, and we were just like, oh my God, what are they doing? And then they went and changed it back anyway.
Yeah, no, that wasn't the algorithm, right? That wasn't the algorithm. What they'd changed is they'd changed the policy. That was the learning limited thing.
Oh, yes.
Right? They changed the policy.
The policy.
And they were trying to turn around and say, you're not allowed to advertise because you're advertising a housing product. And we were like, hold up, your policy states only if we're advertising US citizens. We're not. And we're advertising to Australia. And therefore we don't qualify under your special conditions. And, you guys blocking us is actually, it's against your own policy, which is not on, and that they fought us on it. And in the end, I pushed back hard enough and was enough of a nuisance that they ended up having to admit that their policy was wrong. and
Mm.
finally they lifted it. But yeah, that took I think about 8 weeks of fighting them on that before. And I
Yeah.
remember that because they started trying to do it to every single one of our campaigns. They put shadow bans in place, and what it ended up taking was I had to report them to the ombudsman, but I also threatened to take them to ACCC, and I spelt out the case to them and went, "You guys realize you're breaching this, and this." And at that point, that's when they escalated to their policy people and went, "No, he's right. The policy is only for US, so the algorithm, or the controlling algorithm, not the algorithm of how the marketing works, but rather the approval algorithm of your ads getting approved, was incorrectly configured."
Mm. Yeah. So it was through that time that she was like, do I stay? Don't I stay? And
Mm,
then she goes, you know what? I'm going to go back to the back catalogue again while that's being all sorted out. And, I still want to have the access there. And so she went back and she had a look. And so the comms that she ended up getting there was one from the new lead and one from an older lead, and she was still going through and listing them. And that's when she ended up moving areas, and the postcodes were no longer available in her
yeah,
areas that she had moved
yeah.
to. So that's the reason why she's no longer with us. But she was just like, oh
Oh
my
yeah,
God, like this is,
yeah.
and she was just like, I have some of the older staff coming to me going, where are you getting these from? Like,
Yeah.
these aren't small numbers, like small comms that you're getting. Like, these are decent
No,
comms that
one of
you are
her
getting.
comms was like 42K. Like
Yeah,
it was nuts
yeah,
at 2.75% or something like that. It was mental. And I think,
yeah.
we've and it's hilarious because what I love about this is you sat there and said, I did what you've always told me to do. And you sent her the instructions of this is how to get the most out of your check my house price leads, right?
Hmm.
And it's a step-by-step. So go back, call all the old leads. Here's a script to use. Make sure you're following up. Make sure you're nurturing people. Remember, you're coming in at step one in their selling journey, and this is how you guide them through the rest of their selling journey.
Mm,
And that's what she did. Right?
mm,
She literally followed the paint by numbers that we've mapped out after years and years and years and years of doing this.
mm.
Um,
Yeah,
and 4 grand turned into 92.
yeah.
Um,
And that was
that's
it within, I'm pretty sure that it was actually within the 6 to 9 month window.
yeah, yeah. That would have made sense with our price at that time. 2 subscriptions, she would have been roughly about that 6 to 9 months.
Mm,
Um, and like it, or 2 postcodes, I should say. And it's that's the thing. I think that's the story through this is it's not rocket science. It's actually just showing up. It's being
mm,
consistent, right? It's
mm-hmm.
building a relationship. Real estate's a trust game. It's a relationship game. So build the relationship, build the trust.
Yep.
People who are digital leads, like they're inquiring at a really early stage. They're inquiring at step one. They're not even sure whether or not they want to sell yet. And there's a lot of
Mm,
agents out there who go, "Oh no, that's terrible. I want sellers." It's like, well, you want the low hanging fruit that every man and his dog is chasing, right?
mm,
And if you look after, like if you look at like an orchard, instead of picking up the fruit off the ground that everybody can get access to and race because it's right there and it's immediate. Why don't you grow the tree and grow your own apples,
mm.
right? Like grow your own fruit, and then you've got all of the fruit on the tree.
Yeah.
And I think this is where that nurture comes in. And it's something we've preached for years. Agents, in fact, when our nurture drops off, right? Because we've got 6 and 12 month nurture programs and follow up programs and all this sort of stuff. And when a 12-month program stops, and we don't start with a new one within a couple of months, I have agents teasing me that I'm telling them to nurture, but we're not nurturing them. I have
Mm,
literally had that happen, right? But and it's all good. I like banter away, like cool. It's all good fun. But at the same time, they're still not doing it. They're giving me shit for not doing it because we've dropped off and ours is stopped and we haven't put a new one in place. But they haven't done it the whole time. And these stories that come along, like we're talking about, a newish agent to the industry, desperate for leads in a really established old money part of Sydney, right?
mm,
And they've pulled 92K in comms out of leads in the space of 6 months on a $4,000 spend. Like, that's kind of that's insane numbers, but it's also not uncommon, right? Like there's a story of another Sydney agent who I worked with years ago, and he ended up moving areas as well, and the new areas weren't available. But at one point there, they were on target to do $500,000 commission just from Check My Leads alone. You know, they had multiple postcodes, multiple areas, all that sort of stuff. And like they were spending, I think they were spending about $2,500 a month or something like that. And they were on target to hit $500,000 in comms. But they were following up, right? Once they got that lead was in their ecosystem, and they were following up, and they were doing the nurture, and they were making sure that they touched base, and they built the relationship, and they did all of the things that we've prescribed that they should be doing. And to be fair, back when this was happening with this particular office, we didn't have sold CRM back then, right? We didn't have this ability to turn around and go, hey, we'll build your lead nurture for you. We'll build your follow-up for you. So you don't have to worry about it. You can go and do what you do best. You can, you know, we didn't have that back then. And these guys were doing it. This is how they were winning. It's one of the reasons sold CRMs come about, is because we look at it and we know that if an agent can follow up, much like, you know, the agent you're talking about in DY, the agent that I'm talking about in Western Sydney, you know, the same as we've talked about Phil before and what Phil did, and Phil did it manually. These guys all did it manually. If you can do that, you're gonna win with Check My Leads, with digital leads, with your database, right? You're gonna win. The numbers are insane, and I think, you know, when you consider that on average 5% of Australian property stock turns over every 12 months. Like, let's get into the geeky numbers. If you've stuck with us this long in this case study and we're looking at this, then let's get into the geeky numbers and talk real terms, right? So 5% on average, it fluctuates between 4 and 6. So we're going to call it 5 just for the sake of simplicity. 5% of Australian housing stock turns over on average every year. Right now, that means that about 600,000 properties is 5%. Okay, so roughly about 12 million properties, give or take. So let's bring that down. If you have a database of 1,000 homes, 2,000 people, 1,000 homes, assuming two adults per house, okay, that means there's 50 properties that are going to go to market and sell that are in your database to date. 50 properties out of 2,000 people, 1,000 homes in your database, 50 properties are going to sell in the next 12 months. That 50 properties with an average commission of about $15,000 in Australia at the present point in time. And I'm really generalizing that as a general average across the nation, because if you're in Brisbane right now, the average comp is probably 25, right? If you're in Victoria, it might be a bit lower. If you're in West, like, where the average com across the country is nudging out. The average com in Tassie is probably 15, but the average com in Sydney and Queensland is probably closer to 25, if not higher. In Melbourne, it's 20, 25. So Adelaide's it's 15 to 20. Like, so we're under talking numbers here. But 50 homes, an average of 15 grand com, that's gross $750,000 in commission sitting in your database over the next 12 months as of today.
Yeah.
750 grand, right?
Yeah.
Regardless, even if you give 40% away to, you know, to the office or whatever, you pocket 60%. So I'll do some quick numbers on that. 6 by 7.5 puts us at 42. So that's $450,000. I'm sorry, that is what, six times the average wage in this country in gross com is sitting in a database on average, is sitting in a database right now, you know, for your next 12 months. If that database has 1,000 homes in it.
Yeah.
And nobody's nurturing it. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. The top performers understand this better than anybody else, and this is why they're top performers. You want to know why the big guys are doing millions at a time and millions a year and things like that? It's because once that home and those owners come into their ecosystem, that home comes into their ecosystem, it never leaves. They will do everything in their power to ensure that that person comes back through their ecosystem, or that home gets sold by them again and again and again and again and again, right? And that's what separates the top performers from the also rans. It separates the people from, you know. And by the way, I'm not saying you got to be $1 million agent. If you don't want to be $1 million agent, that's cool. I don't want to be $1 million agent. Christ, like, I'll be honest with you, if I was earning 500 grand as a real estate agent and I was able to do it working 3 days a week, so I had good systems, I wouldn't care about being $1 million agent. I would love my life. Right. So it's different strokes for different folks. But the point is, build that ecosystem, right? So that you have that business on repeat and you're in control of the flow. You're in control of your sales. Understand the numbers and put that automation in place, put that follow-up automation in place. And if you don't have a system that'll do it, call us. We build these systems in Sold CRM for agents every day.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.